got Bev Harris.
I do. A couple weeks ago I was on the road. I got a text message from Bev of blackboxvoting.org telling me that she was in Memphis, Tennessee, looking at, quote, the wildest election tampering yet, where 7 out of 8 candidates in black locations with 70% Dems, but a white Republican sweep. We now have 10 candidates who have filed an election lawsuit down there. She told me via a text message that this is basically like watching a 2-week bank robbery in process. She joins us now. She's been, Bev Harris is the founder of the nonpartisan, nonprofit election watchdog group, blackboxvoting.org. You can see her work also in the 2006 HBO Emmy-nominated documentary, Hacking Democracy, and she joins us with what is an absolute monster story going on down there in Shelby County, Tennessee. Bev Harris, welcome to KPFK.
Well, hi, Brad. It's nice to talk to you again.
And to you. So the story is unlike the information from these right-wingers claiming voter fraud that that they seem to have no evidence for. You actually have a boatload of evidence of some of these massive improprieties and what appears to be tampering going down in Shelby County following their August 5th election. Give us if you could, the basic headline there, and we'll get into some of those details.
Sure. Well, it was an election disaster. If you wanted to teach a college course in every possible method to tamper an election, this would be your college course. They did everything from massive vote suppression. Now you remember in 2000, the 50,000 people who were purged from the list, wrongfully saying that they were felons when they were not felons and they just weren't allowed to vote.
Down in the state of Florida, yeah.
In Florida,
yeah.
It's the wrong database in. This is the wrong database revisited. I believe this is not just about Shelby County or Memphis. I believe this is actually about the United States and the plan for this November. What they did after that Florida felon purge is they passed a nationwide bill called the Help America Vote Act, and one of its effects was to centralize the voter registration database. Centralizing power is not really what democracy is all about, but they centralized it at the state level. And what we're going to see this November is database wars, where they go in and they start loading wrong databases and people can't vote. What they did in Shelby County and got caught was they loaded the wrong database. People showed up to vote. They were told, you can't vote. You've already voted. You can't vote twice. What made this cross the line from some sort of a thing they could call a glitch and turn into straight-up voter intimidation is this. The day before or right in the middle of early voting, the Attorney General came out and said, we've arrested people for voting twice. What he didn't mention is it was about 2 people and it was from 4 years ago. Oh. Again, right before the election, they said, we are arresting people for voting twice. Again, the indictments of 4 years ago. And so people went into the polls and were told, oh, you already voted, you can't vote twice. Well, what are they going to do? Say, I demand my right to provisional ballot?
And this was, Bev Harris, this was really the first tip that something was amiss when people were going in, they were being told they had voted previously, they knew they hadn't, and we're talking about, what was it, 3,000 or 4,000 people in total?
It was over 5,000.
Okay, we're going to get more details in a second. I got to take a quick traffic break here, and we're going to come back with Bev Harris from blackboxvoting.org to talk about this and the thousands of phantom votes that seem to be appearing in Shelby County. Stay with us, Bev.
41 minutes past the hour. Harris with you. You're listening to Harrison on KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles, 98.7 FM in Santa Barbara. It is 44 minutes past the hour. Make it 45 minutes past the hour. Brad Friedman in with us, talking to Bev Harris. She is well known not only for her HBO documentary, which is the way that mainstream America got to hear about her, in as much as Good Morning America didn't have her on every day as they should have for the last decade. But that's why we have Brad Friedman keeping one great huge glass eyeball roving. As it were.
And we're speaking with Bev, who is just back from Shelby County, Tennessee. That's Memphis, where 10 candidates have filed an election lawsuit now. We were speaking with Bev from blackboxvoting.org about the first signs of trouble down there when thousands of voters were turned away. They were showing up, and the voting machines, the databases, were telling them they were not, they were registered to vote, but they had already voted, even though they didn't. Now, Bev Harris, welcome back. Have we got a solution as far as this goes? Before we get into the votes themselves, do we know what happened here? They claimed that this was an old voting database that was used?
Well, now, this is so interesting. They, first of all, threw one of their guys under the bus and said he loaded a May database of people who had already voted, and that was an accident and a glitch.
They had voted in the May election.
Yes, so they had already voted when they showed up.
Right.
Well, here's the problem with that. At least one other county in Tennessee also said, oops, we loaded the May database. This appears to have been a problem that was at least sporadic across the state. Secondly, one of the first things that we did when we got there for an inspection was say, show us what you loaded into that machine inappropriately on Election Day.
Yeah.
Well, this has not been released yet. You're the first to hear it in the media. It was not the May database. I don't know what database it was, but it was not the May database.
Let me get that.
The names don't match.
Let me get that straight. So they were saying that the reason people were being told they had voted already is because they used an old database from a May election, and they were saying that, well, our systems show you already voted, but it was really a May database, and that explains it. But you're saying, Beth Harris, that the May database doesn't actually match the people who were turned away as having voted?
That's correct. They told a big fat whopper. Again, these people have to tell at least three whoppers before they get up for breakfast every morning. I've never seen so much lying, and I've seen a lot of it, but I've never seen so much lying as I've seen from election officials and members.
Have you? And so you have yet to hold them, to come back to them and say, hey, the database you said you used, it don't match, it ain't real, you're lying.
That's coming up shortly, but yeah, absolutely. We'll be coming right back to them and saying, you're giving us a database. This is not the same database. Sorry, what's your next excuse?
All right.
They
now,
have admitted
yeah.
that they loaded the wrong database. And one of in fact, their chairman of the election commission, there's a Republican by the name of Bill Giannini, went forth and said, well, it was only about 5,400 voters.
Oh, well, in that case.
Only 5,400.
One voter.
All right. Well,
one voter is too many.
I should say so. Now, you're also finding, moving on from the access to the polls themselves, we're now looking at the results, and these I think Shelby County uses the old Diebold AccuVotes touchscreen voting machines, if I'm recalling, 100% unverifiable. And Bev,
with the new Diebold electronic poll book, no signatures required. They just tap you into the database. So there's no physical evidence. Not only no physical evidence of the votes, but there's no physical evidence of who voted.
You're saying in the poll books, they don't even, the new electronic poll books, they don't even sign those electronically?
They do not know. Let me put it this way. There's 4 things you have to know in order to have a valid election. Who can vote? That's the voter list. That's the one they put the wrong one in there. Who did vote? That's the poll book. That's the one that they have done away with, the physical record, and said we're just going to use an electronic record.
Because there used to be evidence in that poll book that people's actual signatures, if there was a question, you could go back and, somebody voted, well, that's not my signature, I didn't sign that. That signature is gone.
Yes. So what I have now found is that the electronic poll book has obliterated 3,221 signatures, or conversely, the votes for those people appeared out of vapor and don't have any voter attached with them. But what we do know is that there are 3,221 votes in their certified results that don't have any voter in their electronic poll book database.
So the number of people who voted is more than is recorded as having shown up at the polls to vote by more than 3,000 votes, right?
Right, and now let's add this to the 5,400 or so who were wrongfully turned away. Now we're getting up into the 8,000 range. And then when we go and look at this supposed May database, whatever it was that they loaded in there, there's another 2,500 discrepancy between the databases. When I say database wars, That's literally what it is. All of these new statewide voter registration databases, election vote databases, electronic poll book databases can be exported, imported, overwritten, and deleted with the stroke of a key or by just writing a little script.
We're going to take a quick break for traffic here, come back with Bev Harris for one last quick segment, because I want to find out if she suspects this is a test run that we saw on August 5th in Memphis, Tennessee, or if these are guys just, trying to monkey with the elections on their own in Shelby County. Speaking with Bev Harris of BlackBoxVoting.org. Much more back with her in just a moment.
JoeHarrison.com.
53 minutes past the hour. Harris with you. You're listening to Harrison on KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles, 98.7 FM in Santa Barbara. We have with us, as we wrap up, Brad Friedman talking to Bev Harris about voting, where it's going, what it means, and prognosticating, hopefully not pandemic whoopee, but something controllable and manageable. At least we hope so, Brad.
Good luck. This is actual election fraud. This is actual evidence. This is not the phony Fox News voter fraud nonsense you hear about. These are concerns that are well documented over at blackboxvoting.org. We're not even going to be able to get to a bunch of these questions about the sensitive memory cards that were just sitting out, questions about the poll tapes signed that were found in the trash by Bev Harris. Bev, got a couple of quick questions for you because we're going to have to get to the top of the hour here. So very quickly, did Shelby County have an explanation for these 3,221 more votes that they reported than voters who actually existed according to the county's records?
Nope, they told another whopper to the media. Now, these were at-poll votes. They were specifically election day at-poll votes,
Right.
221 with no voters. What they did was they went to the media and said they were absentee votes. Now, first of all, they only had 2,000 absentee votes in the county, and this, we were talking about they had 80-some thousand at-poll votes. So how 80,000 poll votes in 2002? But it was nonsense, a complete lie, a whopper. They know it's a lie. They still have not released the results to the election. You heard me. It's been a month and a half. They stopped releasing their statement of votes cast.
Now they've released the results, the preliminary votes, but not the official canvass ones that they're certifying as accurate, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And they also have not released their participating voter list. You can find it on the web for past elections. They have not released it.
I got about.
They have not released it because they've obliterated it.
I've got about
That's what it is.
30 seconds for this impossibly large question for you to answer, Bev, but I know you can do it.
Do it in shorthand.
You suggested that you see this as possibly a national effort. Is this a test run for November? Do you have evidence to believe this, or is this just a bunch of local guys trying to gain the election down there in Shelby County, Memphis, Tennessee?
Well, the lawyer defending them is very highly placed in the Republican Party, and he's actually in charge of redistricting. He's been a 20-year veteran of national
is being rejected and disrespected.
And, yes,
So let's
I
take it to
do
the
believe
polls.
this is going to be,
Let's
this
stand up for the man
database
we
manipulation
chose.
is going to be the story this November.
Bev Harris, BlackBoxVoting.org. Thanks for talking to us. I suspect we're going to be talking more between now and November, Bev.
Thank you, Brad.
Get some rest. We're all going to need it.
We love her. We love you, Brad Friedman. Thank you so much. Harris with you. We will